So I've spent about 15 minutes and went through junk drawers and scrounged through my house and art bag and found some materials here that will work very decent for working on your soapstone. Pair of scissors will be nice divvying up your sandpaper that you have. Common screwdriver, these are ceramic tools. You know, they have different tips and angles that you can probably still pierce and scrape the stone. Palette knife could be useful to scrape, smooth, or use in combination of sandpaper to give you something like this, which is a nail file. We can attach sandpaper to a variety of tools to make our own tools. So nail files are pretty inexpensive and a great tool. I mean, it's sandpaper on a stick. If you need to get in tighter areas, you could use something like a paintbrush, a blending stump here. I don't draw much, so I'll probably use this. Even a Q-tip would work to take sandpaper and cover the surface, so you actually have a tool that you can use to get into small cracks. Even a plastic knife, this could be good to texture. And then if you wanted to wrap some sandpaper over the surface, you could have a knife-shaped tool with sandpaper on it. Now to do that, you'll probably need an adhesive. There's a lot of options. Double stick tape, super easy. Even like a spare business card, if you folded this up, applied double stick tape to the surface, and then wrap the sandpaper around this, you have a much firmer and durable and pliable tool to shape your surface. Anyone that has an X-Acto has an advantage because it's a cutting tool. You have probably multiple blades, which is great. What you want to remember with cutting is that you're going to cut away from yourself. You have a stone surface here, you're going to be cutting away. You never want to be pulling towards you because you have a risk of gouging into your hand, and you don't want that to happen right now. This is a common screw that I wrapped in tape. So I could use this to scribe into the surface, do detail work. Actually, it might give you a lot more detail than some of the tools we had at school. So that's a pretty simple solution there. And then if you have a little pocket knife, this one even has a filing surface. So this could work in a variety of ways. If you have a Dremel tool, that's great. I have a variety of bits that I use. Some of them are cutting bits, some of them are much more aggressive. So these, if you still want to shape and sculpt your stone, these will work fantastic in that situation. If you don't have a Dremel and you would like one, even the cheapest Dremel drill that you could find at Harbor Freight will be sufficient to cut into your stone. They range in price. Usually the ones that cost more have a variable speed on it, a higher capacity, maybe runs longer, but really any of them will do just great. And since hardware stores are going to continue to be open, that'll be an option. So Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, those stores will definitely have them. Ace Ace Hardware, I guess, would probably have it. But you don't need it. You don't need it. So if you're just finishing up, the sandpaper that I gave you ranges from, I think, 150, which is still used to shape, all the way up to 2,000, which will be a wet sandpaper, and it's just super smooth. So when you're looking at your sandpaper, the lower the number, the more rough it is. So this is an 80. I didn't give you any 80, but if you have 80, it's going to be very, very rough. And this can be used in a combination of wrapping or just as it's on its own to shape your stone still. So you can get into nooks and crannies and all sorts of things to do with this paper. So if you have it, use it. If you are, just looking to finish up and to clean up your marks on your stone, then you'll probably just start with the 220. the 180 and the 150 might be too rough. You'll find out as soon as you start sanding. So the sheets that I gave you, you can fold them, tear them, cut them, you know, do anything you want with them. It should be a sufficient amount for this small project. With 220, it's going to be dry sanding. You don't want to use water right now. And the sanding paper, if you get it wet, will turn into mush. It'll fall apart. So I like to have small pieces like this. I like to fold them over. It actually gives a grip on my finger, you know, and then I can work my stone like this. I switch it over, constantly dust it out. Remember not to inhale any of this dust. So I like to flick it off into the distance, or if you're outside, just into the wind. So you'll increase with your sanding from 220 all the way up to whatever your pleasure is. The further you take it with 1,000 and 2,000, you're gonna put a high polish on that piece, which will have a reflective type of quality. So here you can probably see on the back, it's just super smooth, and it will become more clear. You'll be able to see more of the stone the higher up you go in the sanding process. So that's up to you how you want to surface treat, texture, and or sand your piece, but the goal is to remove sanding scratches, so you probably will have to do a minimal amount of sanding with 220, maybe up to 1,000. If you have any questions about any of these tools or materials, I also have a weld bond. Any rubber cement would work great. Spray adhesive is probably the best choice. What I do is I would spray the adhesive over my tool. I would spray the adhesive on the paper, and then I would take the paper and, you know, wrap it really nicely around that tool, and then use an X-Acto blade or scissors and trim the rest of the paper off. And then you'll have a really sufficient tool to shape with or to sand, especially if you have some cracks. This would be great. This is a ceramic tool. Dowel rods are also great. Skewers, kebab sticks, things like that that you can find in your house will do just fine. If you're gonna put the spray adhesive on it, consider that a donation to the tool. It would be a real big challenge to get all that adhesive off and clean it up. You'd want to do so with like mineral spirits or something. So reuse stuff, recycle stuff. If you have any questions or you're struggling to figure out the sanding, send me an email. Let me know. Good luck.